This nonprofit has been around since 1989, when business leaders met with then-Governor Tom Kean and were encouraged to start their own chamber. I'll speak with its chairman next on Cablevision's Meet the Leaders. Welcome to Meet the Leaders. I'm Jeff Hennig. For more than 25 years, the Statewide Hispanic Chamber of Commerce of New Jersey has become the voice of the 70,000 Hispanic-owned businesses that contribute over $10 billion to the state's economy. For the past 2.5 years, Carlos Medina has served as chairman, continuing the vision of the Chamber's founder, the late Daniel Jara. Mr. Medina joins me now to discuss the Chamber's goals. Mr. Medina, thank you for being here. It's nice to meet you.
Thanks for having me here, Jeff.
As I mentioned, Daniel Jara was one of the founding members back in 1989. He had been the head of the Greater Paterson Hispanic Chamber of Commerce at the time, and he realized more needed to be done to ensure that Hispanic business owners not only communicated well with the state, but with themselves. So he and several other volunteers met with the governor at the time, Tom Kean, and they decided to found their own chapter. Since that time, the Chamber has continued Mr. Jara's vision. Can you talk a little bit about that vision and how you and members of the board are continuing to put forth goals that he envisioned at the time?
Sure, Jeff. Yeah, Dr. Jara back in 1989 realized that the Hispanic business community really had not a mature Rolodex of contacts. So where mainstream businesses had mentors, generations of coaches that they could reach out to, the Hispanic community didn't have that. So the goal of the Chamber was to be that coach, to be that mentor, and really help them connect the dots and help them do business with each other, but also with larger corporations.
It's important to note that while the Chamber is the premier vehicle to access the Latino community, a good percentage of your membership are non-Hispanic owned businesses. How important is that, and can you talk about that a bit?
It's very important. I think a smart business person gets involved with our Chamber because it's such a growing community, and those that are attending our events are picking up great amount of business. They're making a lot of deals. So we're open to everybody, small businesses, large businesses. Our focus is Hispanic businesses, but we certainly have never turned anybody down that needs help, because that synergy of a lot of diverse companies working together, I think, is why New Jersey and this country is such a great melting pot.
What percentage of your membership would you say are not Hispanic owned?
It's probably 40%.
So that's a fairly large number. How has that grown over the years?
Well, we just got ranked by NJBiz as the #1 chamber, the largest chamber in the state of New Jersey at 2,500 members. So yeah, it's been growing. It's been growing at a very fast pace.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about what the Chamber actually does. The mission is obviously to promote the continued growth and development of New Jersey businesses, both Hispanic-owned and, as we've mentioned, non-Hispanic-owned. And you do that in a number of ways. Can you talk a little bit about the types of things that you do in order to promote yourself?
Sure. Some of it is just meeting with legislators in Trenton to make sure that the small business and Hispanic business community, that legislation is supporting us. Working with the governor's office, Business Action Center, which has been a great ally in helping eliminate red tape for all businesses, but in particular we have a good relationship with many of our Hispanic businesses that have had issues, and they help resolve them. We do networking events, which really are just to drive revenue to the businesses. We do educational webinars, we do educational seminars, we do our expo. We'll be having our second annual health fair in Newark on May 15th. And we just were awarded a grant to have an educational entrepreneurship training. So we'll have a 12-module training session for businesses residing in central New Jersey to really help them start new businesses.
And one of the things obviously that's important as part of this, you actively promote trade not only between states, but between the state, the country here itself, the United States, as well as international counterparts.
Yes, we've helped promote. There's an organization called Pro Mexico. So they'll pay for up to $1,300 for your travel to Mexico to meet with possible food producers, technology providers. Just trying to put New Jersey companies and Mexican companies together. We had a seminar doing business with Cuba, just so people are educated on what you can and cannot do in Cuba, because it's very controversial in this area.
I'm glad you brought that up. That was going to be my next question. When President Obama re-engaged in diplomatic relations with Cuba earlier this year, what were the most common concerns and questions that the Chamber received from businesses here in New Jersey?
Our phone really just blew up at that point. There are a lot of Cuban-American business owners. My father's from Cuba. They just wanted to know what they could and could not do. So we engaged Marco Gonzalez, who's an expert on Cuba policy for 15 years, and we worked with him and the Latino Institute just to give a real boilerplate of what the regulations say and what you can and cannot do, so that a business doesn't get in trouble and think that it's really just a complete open door where you could go vacation next week, which is not the case. There are 12 licenses and great reporting requirements. So if you're going to go, you really need to know which license you're going to apply for and what reporting requirements are mandated.
So would you say that is one of the most common perceptions among businesses that many of the Cuban embargo regulations still exist, and the legislature here in New Jersey has not yet passed the statute to lift the embargo? Is that one of the things that people are not clear on yet?
Yeah, the embargo hasn't been lifted, but the president was able to make amendments to the regulations. So one of the terms was he made Swiss cheese out of them. So he's made a lot of loopholes before they could even go to Congress. So right now it looks like there will be a softening and much more interaction. There might be an embassy in Cuba. There's talks of having a U.S. embassy there. So there's going to be immediate opportunities if something happens where Congress were to try to not fund some of these. I think that it's already going to be so much down the road that it's going to be hard to stop the avalanche of that business-to-business interchange, which I think will be positive for both countries.
Okay, that kind of leads into my next question. Personally, do you believe that the president was correct in opening up diplomatic relations with Cuba? What was your opinion when you heard it?
It's tough being, son of a Cuban father. My mother-in-law is from Cuba. My wife's from Cuba. I do understand the struggle, and I understand some of the hardships they went through. But I think when a Cuban entrepreneur is given the opportunity to succeed and seize what capitalism does, I think it'll be a gradual change to democracy. Maybe I'm being optimistic, but I think the embargo hasn't worked. So I think this business-to-business exchange is definitely a step in the right direction. So I think it's a positive, but I caution that I'm also very sympathetic to those who have suffered, because it has to be something that's painful to see. So it is a difficult fence to straddle.
When you heard about it, though, was it a shock to you?
Yeah, it was surprising to me, definitely.
Let's backtrack a little bit. You mentioned that you have webinars and various workshops. How often do these types of things take place? Do you find that you get a good attendance at these various events that you hold?
Yeah, we team with different subject matter experts like Horizon Blue Cross, ADP. The last seminar we had was on the Affordable Health Care Act. We had about 150 on a call, which it's not the most exciting subject. So to get some members to be over an hour on the phone, I thought that was a good turnout. The networking events are much more successful. I would say the lowest turnout is 200. We always have a full room because there's an opportunity to really close deals. But we do events now that the weather is turning. We do events
finally
a couple times, 2-3 times a month. We'll have events probably through the end of the year.
Talk about in more specifics one of the events that you hold. You have something called the Diversity Luncheon. What does that mean? What is that about?
It's really to have diversity experts from different companies talk about the value of diversity and explain what their company's doing, but also explain that there's a misconception that diversity is a mandate. It's something that you don't want to do, or some companies feel they don't want to do it. So I just want to put a light on how companies that are doing it successfully are also getting a financial gain out of diversity, a diversity of opinions, a diversity of customers. All these things add to your bottom line, so they're a good thing. So the luncheon's idea is just to have 5, 6 panelists talk during a lunch, also have an expo with diverse companies, just tell their experiences. What has diversity meant for their company, to try to break that misconception about diversity.
And earlier you mentioned that you'll be holding a health fair. How long has that been something that the Chamber is doing? When again does it take place? Where does it happen?
It's our second year. We did it at St. Peter's last year. It was really a demand of members. A lot of hospitals, Horizon Blue Cross, wanted to reach out to more members, not only to teach businesses about keeping their employees healthy, the bottom line, but also careers and businesses in healthcare. It's really a booming market. You know, healthy eating. Goya came and brought a chef to talk about how you could cook Hispanic cuisine in a healthy fashion, which traditionally it's not known to be such. This year we're lucky we're doing it at the Robert Treat Hotel in Newark, and it'll be May 15th. Free to attend. We anticipate 100 to 150 vendor tables, giving out a lot of samples, giving out education. We'll have workshops. We'll have experts talking on different topics. So it'll be a fun event.
You mentioned that this particular event is free. Are most of these types of networking events that you hold and these seminars that you hold, are they free, or is there an admission fee depending upon what it is?
Most are free, and we feed and have beverages at all the events. So it's a combination of having a sponsor who wants to help us pick up some of the costs for the venue or for the food.
According to the Partnership for a New American Economy, the number of Hispanic immigrant entrepreneurs more than quadrupled between the years 1990 and 2012, going from 321,000 to 1.4 million. This was nearly 10 times faster than the overall growth in the United States population. Mm-hmm. Having said that, how important is immigration reform, in your opinion, to Hispanic businesses nationwide and specifically here in the Garden State?
It's very important. I think I'll say further, it's not only important to Hispanic business, I think it's important to the economy. That same study looked at the time of all these Hispanic immigrant entrepreneurs starting businesses. It was a time when the country faced a recession. We dig out of this recession, and new companies are being started, but as the report shows, Hispanic immigrants are starting companies. So the conclusion is, if not for these 400,000 companies starting businesses, where would the economy be? So that's another misconception. Immigration, they're stealing our jobs. A lot of these individuals are coming in overqualified. They're taking jobs that they're overqualified for. Therefore, they decide, let me hang up my shingle. I'd rather become an entrepreneur than work at a store when I'm a doctor. I'd rather get into the medical field. I don't have to necessarily practice medicine, but having a medical degree, there's many entrepreneurial paths he could take or she could take. So I think it's, again, about perception, educating the population that immigration is good, this diversity is good, we're bringing talent, we're bringing new vision, and it's many jobs that just are being filled that could not be filled with the current talent in the United States. That's why there's certain types of technical visas out there, because there's hundreds of thousands of engineering positions not being filled because students just aren't studying that. So you have to go outside the country.
We have to take a quick break. We'll have more with Carlos Medina right after this. He's the head of the Statewide Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. Stay with us here on Cablevision's Meet the Leaders. Welcome back to Cablevision's Meet the Leaders. We're speaking with Carlos Medina, who is the head of the Statewide Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. You have been for the past 2.5 years. Let's talk a little bit about the structure of the chamber itself. How many members do you have in the board of trustees?
We have 10 board members. We're all volunteers, including myself. Dr. Hara operated as a president, but when I took over, to make us more financially strong, we went with a model where the chairman will be rotating and there'll be a volunteer. It doesn't mean in the future we won't have a president, but right now we're operating with 4 employees, a marketing director, like a grant director, an administrative director, and myself as a volunteer, really just trying to be a lean nonprofit.
As far as the importance of volunteerism, a lot of the people all the people on your board, I mean, these are people that are volunteering their time, they have their own careers, and they're involved with this. I mean, just talk about the role that volunteerism plays in what you do.
Sure. I'll tell you, I was very reluctant when Dr. Hara became ill and we felt we needed to change our model, because I just didn't think I had the time. But I find myself, I wake up every morning very enthusiastic to do chamber work. I have my own company, a small engineering firm, but it's just a great feeling to get the messages, the phone calls when you help put 2 people together and they say, Carlos, you know, I got the food truck, I got the permit, I'm so excited, this is a lifelong dream. It's hard to quantify how good that feeling is.
So the other members who are part of your board, give me kind of like a rundown of the types of careers that they're involved in personally, the variety that you have as part of your board membership.
Yeah, and it's an ever-expanding board. We're actually looking to even diversify it further. But there's corporate America, there's bankers on there. One of our newest board members works at a micro lender, so he's really like day-to-day dealing with sometimes dozens of small businesses on the street. So where in the past it was only the corporate, you know, senior executives that were on our board or on the composition of many boards, I think you'll see as we grow our board, it's going to be more of the smaller businesses to give us more of a sense of what's going on in the street. I think sometimes if you just have 10 VPs, you're not going to really know what's going on with small business. So I think our board is a nice mix. It's diverse, it's gender diverse, and it will become more gender diverse. We are actively trying to get more women on the board because we feel we could improve that percentage.
What percentage do you have right now?
Right now it's 8 men and two women. So okay. We're probably looking to recruit 2 women to have a 12-member board with 4 women on it. Earlier
in the program, you talked about the importance that you deal with members of government, members of the state legislature, obviously. Are there particular issues out there right now that members of the legislature, from a prospective piece of legislation standpoint, that there are things out there that are being considered that the chamber is in real support of, or are there things that you would like members of the legislature to further consider to enhance the type of work that the chamber does? Yeah, our plan is to, in the next 12 months, work closer with the legislature to promote more small business initiatives such as access to capital, SBA lending, things of that nature. The last initiative that was important to us was the Grow New Jersey program, and it kind of got consolidated, so we are happy that it remained a program to help retain some of our New Jersey companies. We are, I can't talk much about it, trying to have a large member of ours, a Hispanic-owned company, open a facility in another part of the state, in a distressed part of the state. And we are looking at the Grow New Jersey program because he's looking in Pennsylvania right now. So I'm very actively working with him. I met with him yesterday to try to convince him with these incentives with Grow New Jersey, it would make sense for you to hire your 30 new employees in New Jersey. Please don't do that in Pennsylvania. What type of a relationship does your statewide Hispanic Chamber of Commerce have with individual chambers of commerce, whether it be county chambers of commerce or a municipal chamber of commerce around the Garden State? We work with many smaller chambers. We've done joint events. We did one in Elizabeth with the Elizabeth Chamber of Commerce, and it was a very successful networking event, and we just basically said it's a 200-person limit. You invite 100, we invite 100. It was either free, it was free, that particular one, but it was great for new people from other chambers and other parts of the state to meet each other. So we have many of those coming up. We've mentored some of the other small county Hispanic chambers. So we're pretty much an open door. We can't do it all ourselves. I think partnerships are very important. We had an MOU 2 years ago, and it's still in place with the Hispanic Bar Association. So every business needs an attorney, so I think that's a great synergy. And then we had an MOU with the African American Chamber of Commerce. I would imagine having these joint efforts, these joint events with some of these smaller chambers is a great way to network to try to increase your own membership.
Yeah, yeah, and also try to drive revenue. That's usually for them, because a lot of times they'll ask us, oh, are there any grants available? And while it's tricky to give them direct funding, because if a funder or a corporation gives us money, they want to know, and we're very careful with our filings that I'm not suddenly giving it to another chamber. But fundraising is easy, so we could say, here's an event, you keep the door, you keep the sponsorship, or we somehow have a profit share. So we're always open to do that, and there are some that we're working right now on doing that.
Mr. Medina, we have to take another break. When we come back from the break, I want to talk about your annual expo, which takes place in the fall. We'll have more with Carlos Medina, the head of the Statewide Hispanic Chamber of Commerce of New Jersey. Stay with us here on Cablevision's Meet the Leaders. Welcome back to Cablevision's Meet the Leaders. I'm speaking with Carlos Medina, the chairman of the Statewide Hispanic Chamber of Commerce of New Jersey. I want to talk about an event that you annually hold in the fall, which is your annual expo. What takes place at that particular event?
That event is a series of vendor booths with information, with a lot of samples of products, probably 80 booths, workshops all day, and then an awards luncheon. This year will be the 25th year we're doing it. Some of the keynote speakers have been Senator Booker, Senator Menendez, Senator Lautenberg. We had Governor Christie. Last year we had the Lieutenant Governor. Vinny Prieto, the speaker, was there last year. So it's really been a marquee event. 300 attended last year. The lunch alone sold out. Really the marquee event we have all year.
So at this point, have you set a date for the event yet?
Friday, October 16th at the Brownstone in Patterson. It's one of the rare occasions where we're going back to back at the same venue. We had a great feedback. We take over the entire Brownstone, which is a beautiful facility. So again, there'll be workshops, food tastings. It's really a very fun-filled day.
And obviously the attendance must be quite high.
Yeah, we probably had close to 800 attend the various workshops and the booths, and then again 300 for the luncheon.
I want to talk a little about yourself personally and how you got involved with the Chamber, but before we do that, how did you decide as you were growing up that working in this type of field for a nonprofit was something that you wanted to do?
Dr. Hara recruited me maybe 8 years ago, and I wasn't honestly a very active board member. He ran such a tight ship. It was really, vote here, vote this. He did everything. I guess it was when he became ill, and there was some panic among the board on what to do, that I just started getting involved, negotiating leases, moving space, and I think the other board members just said, hey, you kind of like doing this. Would you consider being chairman? And as I said earlier, I was very fearful that I didn't have the time to do it. But as I did it and enjoyed it, I'm very happy that I made the decision.
If someone is interested in learning more about the Statewide Hispanic Chamber of Commerce of New Jersey, what's the best way that they can go about doing that?
I would start on the website. It's shccnj.org. Wealth of information, photos of events, registration if you want to become a member. So there's a lot of information, a lot of social media links. We're very aggressive on the social media. So that would be a good starting point.
Looking ahead to the rest of the year, if there was one thing that you would say that you want, either from a personal standpoint or for the Chamber as a whole, a goal that you want to accomplish, what would you say that would be?
It's really to have a successful implementation of that entrepreneur training. It's big for us. It's something we want to make a yearly class. So this is our rookie class. So we're very nervous about it. We want to do a good job and make sure it's something that happens once, maybe even twice a year. Just keep on training. It could be folks that have a small business that just need to take it to the next level, or individuals that are really on the fence about starting a business.
What's the toughest part about doing this?
Not being able to clone myself or have extra hours in the day.
Okay, on that note, we are out of time. Mr. Medina, thank you for being here.
My pleasure,
I learned
Jeff.
a lot. Hope you had a good time. Appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
And that's all for Meet the Leaders. Thank you for joining me. Remember, you can see all of our previous shows online if you missed any of them at www.meettheleaders.com. And don't forget to tune in again next week when I speak with another leader from your community. Have a great day.